Alright, so The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. So I'm gonna give my opinion on it, or my take on it. And no, I don't have a review copy or anything. It's just from the trailer, from what we've been shown. And the first time I saw it, I wasn't impressed. I already made up my mind that I wouldn't buy it. And after watching the other two that came out afterwards, I'm I still don't gonna buy it. I haven't been convinced otherwise that it's going to be a good game, that it's going to be worth buying, and I'm going to talk about it why I think so. So first of all, this is really far from a traditional Zelda game, like really different in terms of you don't actually do any combat yourself, you're just spotting in enemies, basically Pokemon style, and it just begs to wonder why it's even a Zelda game, and that is most likely because it wouldn't sell otherwise, or nearly enough if it wasn't. So I feel like they just made it into a Zelda game because they knew it would sell. So why don't I think it's worth buying? Well, first of all, as I mentioned, you don't really do any of the combat yourself. You're only spotting enemies, which means there's going to be a lot of time where you just standing still doing nothing, apart from watching the enemies you spawned in defeat other enemies, including bosses, that is. So yeah, as we saw in the trailer, during the boss fight, the boss will go for the enemies you spawned in, and they even show your character go for a nap, meaning that this game is going to be ridiculously easy. You had nothing to worry about, and it's just going to be a waiting game basically. It's just basically an AFK arena, if you will. Not really, but you know what I'm saying. But I think the bigger issue, or the other issue that comes with this is, well, there's going to be a lot of pausing, like a lot of pausing. There's only one button to summon in anything you've copied, so either furniture or an enemy, which means you have to constantly pause to swap between them. There's not one for each type. There's no two buttons. All the back buttons, for some reason, aren't mapped to anything by the looks of it. So, okay. Which means you're going to pause a lot. Every time you want to place down a furniture, you have to pause for that, scroll to the right because it's a linear path menu style, and select it. And you might have to change to different furniture for, well, whatever you're trying to scale. And even during the same scaling process, you might have to use different furniture because they're different sizes and heights, meaning that the same one won't function or work just as well as the other. So you're going to have to change a lot. And there's also a lot of things to copy. So my tip to anyone who's going to buy it is just don't copy every single thing you find, because that means you have to scroll through even more unnecessary stuff. So definitely skip out on things you don't feel like you're going to need. And speaking of some of the things I feel like you're definitely going to need, that would be the plant, because we've seen that being able to get caught on fire. So it's gonna basically be your torch. So that's kind of important. We got the bed, which is pretty good for horizontal movement. We got a floating platform, which is really good for horizontal movement. We got a spider enemy, so good for vertical movement, like it can just climb basically everything, so that's overpowered. We got water blocks we can place, which gives you quite a lot of height. We got that. Just don't copy everything you find, otherwise you have to scroll through an ungodly amount of useless items. So skip out on those. Same with enemies, I guess. There are some enemies that you probably will never use, but I guess you are forced to copy some enemies. I don't know exactly how it's gonna work, if you can skip furnitures and enemies, or if you actually need all of them. It remains to be seen. So moving on to the next thing, and that being the combat. So as I mentioned, you have to spawn in copied enemies, or echoes as they call them, to fight for you. And it sounds kind of cool, I guess, and interesting, like a little neat concept, but when that is your only form of interaction, it's gonna get very tedious and boring really quickly. Any fights that would normally take like a few seconds now takes 20, 30, maybe 40 seconds, who knows, just because you might have to pause the game, go to the menu, scroll to the enemy you want to spawn in, tie that to a button, then press it and have the enemy spawn in and then go and attack. Whereas in other Zelda games you can use run out, press B, and then that's it. That's all you have to do. Then we have like the actual, so you can turn into Link. We got the Link form, or as they call it, sword fighting mode, even though it's Link, you literally turn into Link. But the dumbest part of that one is that it goes on energy, and those energy, or that energy bar goes down incredibly quickly because Nintendo don't know how bars should work, so they go down incredibly quickly. And in order to refill it, you'll have to go into the still world, which apparently has like portals dotted all over the place, but that doesn't mean it's always in convenient spots. So you have to go out of your way to enter one of those areas to refill your energy, and then backtrack all the way back to where you previously were, just so you could use it. So what's gonna happen is most of you is just gonna save a Link form for bosses just to speed up the progress there, or process, which is a complete waste. I really wish we had the ability to spawn in enemies and fight as well, like it was an actual item or so, instead of it just being the main thing where the actual combat from you is a secondary or an item, which is just having a poor design onto it. So that is what I think of the game and why I don't really want to buy it. I don't want to buy a pausing simulator that's trying to be like Pokemon, but just worse, I guess, because there's no strategy at all. It just place an enemy and then watch it try to kill that enemy you wanted to attack, and that's it. Again, I think this might have been like another game, like not even a Zelda game to begin with, but then they realized that no one would probably buy it, so they just gave it a Zelda skin and Zelda name. I just be like, yeah, now it's gonna sell. But that's besides the point. Just, it doesn't seem to be a very good game. You might have a little bit of fun in the beginning, but the novelty of spawning in furnitures and enemies is gonna wear off so quickly, it's not even gonna be fun. You're gonna get bored of the game after your 100th pause. It's just gonna be tedious. But anyways, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Yeet.